Everyone has some sort of a closet that's become too small. A closet is no place to live, and I want to support as many people as I can in stepping out of that prison into the fullness of life that's waiting for them on the other side of that closet door. I'm Nancy Shadlock from Centered Life Coaching. Join me in listening to these Coming Out Chronicles. Get curious about your story, and then see what good things are waiting for you on the other side of your closet door.
I've been hearing a new term that I found really interesting, and I thought it would be cool to bring it here for you to hear about. Whether it's a relationship that you're thinking needs to end. There's more and more people in my work that I'm meeting that, things haven't felt quite right in their relationship, and they've worked on it and they've tried, and it hasn't come to be how they want it to be. Whether it's work, whether it's all kinds of things. I think in the same way that there's all kinds of coming out stories, there's all kinds of ways that you might need to consciously uncouple. And I thought there is a correlation, I think. I think it's a neat take on the coming out story because it's a way of coming out of something in a really conscious way. And so I tracked down somebody to share this story with you. I can't wait for you to hear it. Welcome, Melissa DaSilva. It's so awesome to have you here today.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
I can't wait to hear your take on the coming out story because I think that there's a lot of intermingling in it, and you have a unique view. So without further ado.
Yes, I do have a unique view on things.
Well, hop into it. I can't wait.
So my coming out, I feel like I've come out of several things in my life. I'm going to be 40 this year, so it's very exciting. So I feel like I identify as bisexual, but I didn't start identifying that until I was in my 20s, because I didn't really have any examples or anybody to say oh, I feel like I might be like them, or any role models and stuff like that. And it wasn't until in my 20s that I started realizing some of the things that were kind of like the signs and signals to me. And I was in college, and I feel like college is that experience for a lot of people.
Experiential.
Yes. But then I ended up with my ex-husband at 24, and I didn't really get to explore that side of myself. And we have been together, we were together for about 14 years. And it wasn't until COVID this year that I decided that we were going to uncouple. I don't like using the divorce word because I feel like my past history with that word has always been negative. And I feel like what we had wasn't negative. It just kind of ran its course. And it was, good for both of us for when it was good. And now it's time for us to move on to the next part of our lives. So I don't feel that there's any negativity between it. But in the process of that, I have been able to kind of live my best life. I have known that I wanted to be someplace where it's summer all year round. And I decided that I was going to move to Puerto Rico. And so I did that in October. And I have been here for 4 or 5 months now, and been able to start the whole dating thing, which has been quite different than when I did it 14, 15 years ago, and in a different country, which is really interesting. So now I feel like I have the ability to kind of spread my wings and kind of really be who I truly am at this part of my life. So I don't feel like I had a really coming out, this is me type of thing. It's just kind of been evolved into who I am. And this has just been Melissa. And that's just how I see things. It's just me.
Was there a point where you started to really lean into the bisexual part of yourself?
I think so when I felt comfortable to tell my ex-husband oh, I find that girl attractive too. And I wanted to go to the strip clubs a little bit more than he did, just because it would give me the freedom to be able to make out with other women without being in trouble for doing stuff like that. So I tried to work around it as much as I could when I was in a relationship with my ex-husband. Yeah.
How did he receive that?
He was like, what? I was like, what? You didn't notice some of the signs I was giving you? You would think like me saying like, hey, would you be okay if I had like a girlfriend would be one of those signs and signals. But I think he just thought I was like pulling his leg. He was like, oh, okay. But he and I have always been like a part of the queer community. Like he played softball on a gay softball league. And so it wasn't just like that shocking for him. It was just kind of like, oh, this is just another interesting part of Melissa. Yeah. So he was very supportive of it. I do believe. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that you're bringing up this like conscious uncoupling, and
Yes.
it's something I've heard more and more lately. And I've asked a few people if they would share, but a lot of people are still like kind of in it. And so it feels like not quite there yet. And, but yet, yeah, I think just as you didn't see any examples of bisexual people, we don't have tons of examples of what it would look like to not have this big, messy divorce. And so I would love to hear your experience of that, of like, how did you know it was time? Like,
it was time when, COVID, I think, has brought a lot of things to the surface for a lot of people. I just started getting into contact with people that I went to high school with, like my old high school best friends that I hadn't seen in a long time, and realized like things that I wasn't getting in my current relationship, like validation or, the type of affection that I wanted and stuff like that. And, it wasn't something that I think that my partner at the time could provide for me. I mean, that just wasn't their love language. And, I think that he probably had questions if we were the right match for each other. We both eventually said like, we probably shouldn't have got married. I mean, we both came from divorced families where, I always felt like I had to have like my separate finances because something might happen. Like I've always been ready for the D word. But because I think he felt like, well, we're in a relationship for a long time, I guess this is the next step we take. And so he felt like he had to propose to me, and me feeling like, okay, just kind of like go with it. All right. We live together. Why not? But when we got into the COVID and we were spending a lot of time together, and I realized that there was things that I didn't realize that I wanted. That's when I had let him know, like, I think that we're better off if we kind of move into a different direction. And yeah, it was more difficult for him because I had already gone through that process of like kind of separating, kind of retreating into my own little world. And I think he's still doing some processing, which, it's to be expected. And, I'm willing to help out in any way that he needs to, because we do still love each other as people. Like we lived together for like 15 years. That's a long time. We've been through a lot of life lessons with each other too. So I think that we will always have a special place in our heart together. It's just, we weren't supposed to be life partners. And honestly, is there such thing as life partner? Like life was really short when marriage was created. Like now it's like 2 lifetimes. Yeah. So I always say like we should have like a contract renewal like every 2 years, just so you'd be like, how's this working out? I think I'm gonna go a different route. Okay.
Yeah. At like 5 years in or 10 years in, did you have a sense of like, oh, this isn't quite right, but then double down on working on things or something? Like how was this time different than then?
I think I remember this moment laying in bed, and we had a king size bed and we didn't share blankets, and we slept on very opposite sides of the bed. And he would always fall asleep like that. It's like so frustrating. Like I'd be awake and he's just like asleep. And I remember like just crying and looking at the ceiling and saying like, is this it? Is this everything? And I didn't want that to be yes. And it was then I was just kind of like, then what do I want? And that happened maybe last spring. And there has been times when we were like argue about things but we never argued often. Like we just kind of lived two separate lives. And I think that I just wanted something different at that point. So, I went through that feeling of guilt. Like other people be like, well, he's changed now, you should really give it a try. But why? Who says that's the rule? It's just, I just wanted to start my life second half differently.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of change that went into it because his mother lived with us too. So I felt like I was uncoupling from two people.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was difficult, but I'm very grateful that they're the people that they are and they were understanding of it because I always said like, I'm a peacock. I need to fly free.
Yeah.
Because that's just me. Like maybe I'm not meant to be coupled with somebody for a long term. I'm just very creative and impulsive at times. And, it's just me. And I just accept who I am for who I am.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you're familiar with the gene keys, but there's one in there that says that certain people have a 7-year cycle. And it's like,
Yes.
be in there for that and then go to the next one.
And once you're able to like identify it, it makes it so much easier to like just be, like, yeah, this is who I am. It's okay. Yeah.
And was it a stretch to make it a conscious uncoupling, or was your ex-husband ready for that kind of a path?
Because he knows who I am and I don't do things like the traditional way. And he's like, I've been to so many therapists and they have no idea what I'm talking about when I say uncoupling. Like, he's like, nobody knows what this word means. So, and it's funny, my friend says like, whatever book you're reading, I know that's going to be the next step you take in life. And the book was Conscious Uncoupling. And my ex had like access to my Kindle reading list. And he was like, ah, shit.
Here it comes.
Yep. And then the next one I went was like Taking Space. So then he's like, oh, maybe there's a chance. So he's like, and that's one of the reasons why I love him, because he was just like so okay with my weird ways of doing things. And we're able to laugh at the stuff that we do and that we did together. So I feel like I've been very blessed to have the people that I have in my life and very blessed to have the opportunities that I have going forward too.
What are some of the things that you like purposely put in place to make it more conscious of an uncoupling?
Well, support from friends really was important for me because it was a pretty quick decision, really. I mean, it went from September to October. I was leaving for Puerto Rico for 5 weeks. So I think it was support from friends and then also the ability to just let go of stuff. Like when we were just like, okay, we're just going to sell the house. And he ended up buying a condo and I had all this stuff, like art stuff too, that I felt like I needed, or projects I started who I thought was going to finish someday, and just being able to let it go. Like, because it is expensive to ship down to Puerto Rico. And, I didn't want to spend that. I didn't have the money. And when you realize that you don't really need that much stuff when it comes down to it. So that made it a little bit easier, but it was something that I had to figure out on my own too. And then to realize like, how do you not get into the same situation again? Like I can easily fall back into like a codependent relationship and, live 14 years with that person and then realize what the fuck did I do again? Like,
yeah.
So really trying to be conscious of that as well. And having open communication and, feeling sorry about feeling like I just destroyed two people's lives and, having that open communication with them about it. And not let anybody's other judgments kind of cloud what I was feeling.
Mm-hmm. I really hear too, like, it sounds like both of you didn't take it personally so much. Like,
No.
that sounds like a really key piece of this, to be able to uncouple in a peaceful way, is to not be like, oh, I'm a screw up as a husband, or I'm a screw up as a wife, or like, it just ran its course. Like, that's a really beautiful way to say, like, we are complete and now
Yeah.
next.
Yeah. And if you think about like other people in your life, there's been people like that relationship has run its course too. Like, maybe a best friend from high school. Like, you don't have to end on a bad note. It could just be like it's run its course and you two are in your lives for a certain reason. And now it's time to move on. And I think like a lot of people will feel like things have to end in a bad way to make things feel complete.
Mm-hmm.
And then it like ruins these opportunities that you could really have. But we can end things in a loving manner too.
Mm-hmm. I think sometimes the big clash is a bit of an out. It's just like,
Yes.
fine, I'm out of here, and then done.
Mm-hmm.
But to be able to like do it mindfully and not out of a reactionary place, but like, the wisdom I've had in any big decision is to make the decision in a place of peace, not in a place of stress of this has to happen or else. It's like you haven't finished learning all the lessons if you're still doing it in a place of stress. But if you are doing it in a place of peace, then yeah.
Yeah. And some people will still give their opinions on how they would react to a situation, not from a place of love and peace. And to try to weed through that can be kind of confusing too. Like, we have joint custody of our dog. And so people would be like, oh, you shouldn't have to do that. You have the dog in Puerto Rico, he can survive. But for me, it's like, well, that was a conversation that we had. And I want to honor that because I know how great our dog is and how important he is to both of us. And it's important to honor that to me, even though we're not in a relationship anymore. So I could easily be like, yeah, you're right. He's my dog and I'm going to keep him. But just to be able to like, no, that's not the way I'm working from.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And even more so if there were kids involved.
Yeah, I mean, that would be probably more difficult with kids involved. But I think consciously uncoupling with children involved is very important too, because I was a product of a divorced family. And that's why I always held on to my bank account and never shared it with anybody, because I was just waiting for that doom to come. And, not knowing what one parent's saying, but the other one is true, like not thinking like, if you're bad mouthing one parent, that kid might believe it and take it with them as they grow older. So conscious uncoupling is really important for, especially with people with children.
If someone's listening and they feel like they're maybe in that space where they've wondered for a while, they've worked through all the things that they can, but they feel like they're ready for a change, like what wisdom would you share with them?
You buy the book Conscious Uncoupling and you leave it on the coffee table.
Starts the conversation.
Yes. What is this? I think it's like important to have that conversation with your partner as calmly and as loving as possible, and not make it about a personality or a personal thing. It's about a relationship that you two entered into with love and can exit with love. And how can you do that and being a good model for, those around you. But it's all about communication, which is what a relationship is about to begin with. And so uncoupling from that relationship is going to be about communication too. And it's not easy and it's sad. It is sad. Yeah.
And now you have this new chapter. Like, how's the new chapter been going?
Amazing. So we live in Puerto Rico now, and I am in a community of a whole bunch of online entrepreneurs. I have friends that come down and stay with me. I also have my alone time. I'm somebody that struggles with depression and anxiety, especially in the winter months. And being from Rhode Island, winter's like, I don't know, 9 months out of the year, it feels like. So being here has really done a lot for my mental health too. And then being in this community, I've really been able to meet other people who have like similar interests as me, who enjoy the heat and humidity as much as me. It's just a different experience with the people too. Like I've not met one person that has been unpleasant. Figuring out a different culture has been interesting. Trying to learn a different language has been really awesome. So it's just been a really great experience. And because Puerto Rico has been such a transformative place for me, I'm starting to create like a one-on-one transformational retreat for other people, where I create these coaching 3-day packages where it's tailored to each person and what they want to overcome. Whether it's relationship stuff or, just feeling like they're stuck in life, just kind of really working through that, because I have a background in being a therapist, but my passion is also coaching people through like the muck and like this constant spinning in their life.
That's
So,
awesome.
Yeah. So we have one coming up this weekend, and we're doing a lot of activities, because in our interview, she had mentioned like she wants to get back in touch in who she really is, find her playful side, figure out what she wants to do going forward out of COVID in her life. So we have activities such as like going to this beach that I like, that we can jump the waves and, do sand castles and stargazing and horseback riding and massage and just painting and just reflection. So it's tailored to what she needs and what might be good healing for her soul.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I've heard that Puerto Rico has really good energy too, just in and of itself.
Yes. And where I'm located, I guess the wind comes off of the Sahara Desert and then comes here, and it's been like filtered so many times over the ocean that it's like some of the best air you can breathe.
Amazing.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
And if you're an artist or a creative person, like the colors are so inspiring, like the green iguanas are so vibrant. It's just a great experience, I think.
The question that I love to leave people with is like, what do you think your next coming out chapter is?
My next coming out chapter would probably be, I'm probably going to start another business. I don't know what it is, but that's just probably something I'm going to do.
Probably in a community of a bunch of entrepreneurs, it's pretty easy to get ideas.
Yes. Yes. And, I want to give back to the island too, because it's done so much for me. I want to be able to give back to the island at some point.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll see. I do lots of things.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you for having me. I enjoy sharing it.
It's inspiring. It's important for people to hear that there's another way. And
yes.
Thank you for living that.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Coming Out Chronicles. If you enjoyed it, give it a like. And if you think it would be helpful for someone else, please share it with them. If you'd like to connect with me, reach out on social. I'd love to support you on the next chapter of your coming out story. Until next time, this is Nancy Shadlock from Centered Life Coaching.